Hello, Ashley and Amanda. I wanted to give you guys just a externship orientation. Quick video, kind of go over some of the highlights of externship, kind of what is to be required, not only of you, but of your sites, of myself, and what the end goal really is. So I'm going to talk about the externship and capstone courses. And the first thing I'm going to do is just go over the externship handbook. I will have a copy of everything that I discuss here in this video for you in class. I will give it to you along with any additional forms that need to be filled out for your externship sites, whether that is Mercy for you, Ashley, or Swedish American for you, Amanda. So to start off with, we're going to talk about kind of the breakdown of externship. In your externship, I obviously am the one that sets up and obtains the sites for you guys. Both of you already know where you're going. And you may not have heard more specific details like schedules and things like that, and that's okay. We are still quite a bit out from it. You'll actually start your externships in the beginning of January, and the first official day that you can actually start is going to be January 2nd, which is a Tuesday. So with that being said, you guys hopefully at this point understand that you will have to transport yourself to and from externship. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger for myself. You're also going to have to, incur any of the costs that come with traveling. Now, hopefully the clinical sites that you will be at are near either your homes or other jobs that you have, as I know both of you are working at other places. Okay. The goal is that wherever you are placed for externship, that is where you complete all of your clinical hours. However, if something happens, we'll talk about what we do in those cases. At the end of your externship, the hope is that you'll be able to sit for your credentialing exam, so that CMA exam. Rasmussen University does pay for the first exam and first exam fee. And with that, you are given a testing window, and it's up to 1 year for you to actually use that product code or voucher code that we give you. You are responsible for setting up your exam. The double AMA will actually send you information on those steps on how to do it. We're just providing you with the voucher code, so you actually have to follow through with the steps of applying for the test, picking a test date, and then if something happens and you have to reschedule, that is your responsibility. We really can't do anything with that. Normally, I go over the externship placement interview, but both of you have already actually been placed. And I don't necessarily know, Amanda, I know you had an interview, but Ashley, I don't think you did. You just got the, hey, we're going to take you. So with that being said, because you guys have already gone through that process, I'm not going to talk about the externship interview. However, what I will say is if for whatever ungodly reason something happens and you get fired from this externship, you will have a second attempt to take that externship experience. You will have to re-interview with a new facility, and you only get 2 attempts. I know it says 1, but you get 2 attempts to interview. If both interviews go poorly and neither site takes you after the fact, that is considered a fail. But again, I don't foresee that being an issue, so I'm not going to stay and dwell on that too much. All right. So the other thing that's really important that I want to touch on here is students, this line right here. Students who are enrolled in a Florida, Illinois, or Wisconsin campus have to complete a total of 200 hours. Really, in all actuality, it's 180 hours on the clinical site and 20 hours of online instructional hours. And we'll talk about what that kind of comes down to, but please know that it's 180 hours in the clinic. So how do we start our externship? Well, first and foremost, it's important that you understand that if you do an orientation, only 20 hours of the orientation can count for hours towards your externship. Most of the time, orientation is a day, so 8 hours. Some sites do a little bit more, but the 2 sites that you guys are going to, really, it's going to be that first day is really just kind of orientation. After that, it's going to be all hands-on. You should be contacted by the clinical supervisor, office manager, or mentor at your clinical site prior to the first day of your externship experience to set up a schedule. I do not have anything to do with that. So if you have not heard from them, I always encourage you guys, if you haven't heard from them by like week, I don't know, let's say 11 or 12. So 12 would be the first week of break. Please just let me know so I can shoot an email out to them and make sure that we all are on the same page still. But outside of that, I don't handle the scheduling for externships. That is between you and the clinical site. Now, we always like to say, you know, before the first day, you get a tour of the clinical site that you're going to be at and gain some experience into an insight into that clinic. The reality is that that probably won't happen until the first day. But if you can get it in there beforehand, that's fantastic. When you do have that conversation with your externship clinical site manager, office manager, or mentor, always ask them what the appropriate dress code is. If you can wear scrubs that are not Rasmussen and they approve you to wear any scrubs that you want, then by all means you can do so. But some clinical sites really prefer that you wear your Rasmussen University scrubs as well as your Rasmussen University badge. So it's not a bad idea to ask them what they prefer in those cases. You do have 11 weeks to complete your externship hours. So just like you would any other core course, you have that full 11 weeks. And that is going to end on, give me 1 second. You will have from January 2nd to March 15th to complete those hours. We recommend that you work approximately 16 to 20 hours per week. I know it says 24 to 40. That's really more for our Minnesota students. 16 to 20 is going to be the sweet spot for you, especially if you do have another job. There's nothing saying that you can't work 40 hours a week. You absolutely can. You just can't work more than 40 hours a week. So keep that in mind. If you work more than 40 hours, nothing over 40 hours will count for that week. You have to work with the clinical coordinator, set that schedule. Again, I don't have any part in that. My whole job is just to get you guys set up with those externship sites, but outside of that, the communication needs to be between you and that clinical site. You may be scheduled with any department employee as long as the student remains under the overall direction of the clinical site evaluator, who could be the manager, preceptor, or mentor. You might float around to different individuals within the unit just to get different experiences. Totally normal. You should be scheduled to rotate through basic medical assisting procedures and functions. So sometimes they might have you working with a front office assistant, seeing the front end tasks or administrative tasks. You might be working in the back end, getting the clinical tasks. You might be working in a lab to see those procedures. All of those are totally normal. And if you can, you really should float at least between administrative and clinical practices. And then the schedule should be discussed again between the student and the clinical site on a regular basis, especially if things are coming up. You guys will be doing externships in the winter, so snowstorms are a big possibility. Keeping that in the back of your mind is always a good decision. Externship experience responsibilities. So we're going to talk about your responsibilities as a student, my responsibilities as your externship coordinator, and then the responsibilities of your clinical site. First and foremost, your responsibility is to treat this like it's an actual job. So I know that you guys may not want to stay at these places when you are done, but really you should think about your externship as a 180-hour on-the-job interview. You should have at this point hopefully already been introduced to the clinical site manager. If you have not, I would encourage you to introduce yourselves, whether that's via phone or email, but please let me know if you have not heard from them. You want to dress in your Rasmussen University scrubs. Again, unless they tell you that you can wear a different dress code. Maintain your professional behavior during the experience. So just because I'm not there doesn't mean that path does not apply. You still should be following those same path rules that we have in our lab classes. So professionalism, attitude, time management, and hygiene. And keep in mind that what you're doing out in your externship site not only reflects you as a person, but it reflects the university as a whole. You want to ensure that all of your immunizations are up to date. So actually, I think you're completely done. I think last time I looked at your Castle branch, you were right on target where you need to be. Amanda, you and I know the struggle that we're having with your Castle branch, but hopefully here very, very soon we will have the end to this saga. Again, all immunizations have to be completed in Castle Branch prior to going to your externship site. You should review and understand the handbook for externship, which is what we are going over right now. And then the reason I do it so early is if you do have questions, we're able to address them right away. You'll work with me to learn the specifics about your externship site. So things like the address, the directions, the telephone number. You can do your own history on the facility, know who your point of contact is, who they service or what services they provide, and then get all of that down before you begin. You also are responsible for accurately documenting your hours. I'm going to show you how to do that. And as you begin externship, and I know that I'm going to show you today, and that's great, but I'm realistic that you'll see it today when you watch this video, and then you'll completely forget about it up until day one of your externship. So in the externship course, when you guys begin that in January, you will also see that I post videos on how to properly do the timesheets. If at any point in time, I notice that your hours are not correct, or they're not adding up correctly, they're not being documented correctly, whatever the case might be, the records are falsified, that puts you at an automatic risk for failure, okay? I do not tolerate any falsifying of records, especially when it comes to your hours. You should be taking a 30-minute break, and on the timesheet, I can tell you and show you how lunch breaks work and how the timesheet itself will automatically calculate those. Okay. At the end of your week, you will need to make sure that the document is physically signed by your preceptor, manager, or clinical site supervisor, and the signed copy needs to be submitted each week for grading. One other thing that you need to be familiar with is HIPAA laws. Please remember that you're dealing now with real patients. If at any point in time we see that there's a violation of HIPAA, you will receive an F and automatically be dismissed from your externship site, and that will count as your first failed attempt. And remember, you only get 2 attempts at externship. If you are caught conducting any illegal activities or partaking in any illegal activities, again, automatic fail not only from the program, from your externship, but from the university as a whole. We talked about how you should not work more than 40 hours a week. unless it's necessary to make up some hours, but really we should not be working more than 40 hours a week. All of your activities and assignments will be given by your clinical site evaluator. So whether that is your supervisor, manager, or preceptor, any tasks that they give you, you should be filling out. And then you are responsible for completing an evaluation form of the externship site. That is an assignment that you will complete in module 11 of your externship class. And it just gives me some feedback on the site and how you felt about it. So that way, as I'm placing future students, I know if this is a site that we can use again. Please understand that if you are dropped from an externship site for any reason, you will automatically receive an F in the course. You will be dropped from the site, and you will be given a second attempt to do your externship in the upcoming quarter. Any hours that you had already previously worked are back down to 0. Okay, we don't get rollover hours. We will create a lesson plan if you are failed from a externship site. That lesson plan typically will include either us having a one-on-one meeting once a week or having you come to campus once a week, so that way we can work on skills that led to you being fired. If a student follows the guidelines set within the, if you fail to follow the guidelines within the learning plan, that could constitute you being second failed, and you would then be dismissed from the program. If you are failed from an externship site, you would still want to complete and finish your online capstone course. That is that sort of lecture course that goes along with the lab course of externship. And then students must go through an audit on their skills and techniques and pass an evaluation by myself before I will place them for a second time. Again, if a student is dropped for any reason, all of the hours that they have completed in the digital timesheet are kept by me. However, they do not count moving forward. If you refuse an externship site that you were assigned to, this will result in you being a failed attempt, and you'll have to wait until the next quarter to be placed. So while it may not have been your first choice, your second choice, might have been your third choice, still go through that experience, still go to your externship site, and who knows, you might learn as you go through it that really this was a site that you should have been all along and it was turned out differently, or you make it through your 180 hours and then you wash your hands of the site. I don't care what you have to do, but you have to do the work. Externship attendance policy. So just like coming to class for campus classes, there is, I'm so sorry guys, pardon me. Just like your externship, your lab classes, your externship class has requirements as well for attendance. Most of the time we say that attendance is up to the externship site. However, we do also still have a policy that you can only miss, and I want to highlight it here for you, 2 scheduled externship classes or shifts. Any attendance that is missed outside of that, unless there are extenuating circumstances, the site can fire you, or I can have you dismissed, okay? If you miss a scheduled externship time for any reason, you must work with your externship coordinator as well as, the externship coordinator being me and your clinical site manager to determine a makeup plan. I want you to start with the externship site, make that plan with them, and then just let me know so I can keep a record of it. Again, you may be dismissed for a lack of attendance, and if the student is dismissed from their externship site, they will receive an F in the course, and then they will have their first failed attempt. And again, any hours that were successfully completed prior to being a fail would not count. If the student does not complete all of their externship hours during the quarter in which their course is scheduled, they will fail externship again unless there were some unforeseeable circumstances or extenuating circumstances granted. I'm going to skip the next section on the digital timesheet because, again, I want to show you how to do that. And it's easier if I show you instead of just talking about it. So I'm going to skip this section here. Evaluation and externship expectations. So one of the things that's really expected of the student is to complete all of the work and activities in a timely fashion. I understand that you are going to be in externship and maybe also working. I understand that that can be a little bit stressful, but I want you to think about your externship and capstone courses just like you did your lab and lecture courses. You need to make time to do your work. You do have discussion boards for this externship course. They are every other week, so they are in weeks 2, 4, 6, 8, and 11. You will need to reply to at least 2 classmates. So unfortunately, in your case, you're only going to have the 2 of you, so you're going to have to reply to each other every single week. You want to check course announcements and email at least 3 times a week because I will add things and update things accordingly. Submit your accurate digital timesheets each week, even after you have finished your hours. We will have nothing that you have to report to campus to necessarily. However, we will have situations where we have a mid-quarter evaluation and then an end of the externship evaluation. You will need to keep and hold on to all of your original signed timesheets, and they will need to be submitted for grading at the end of the quarter. So I actually need the physical copies of those. Your clinical site will be given an evaluation form as well. It's called Appendix B, and it shows administrative and clinical skills that we want you to be able to complete during your externship experience. So I will give that to them at the mid-quarter review. They can then complete it. It's an electronic form in Microsoft Word, and they can then complete that and send it back to me via email. Your capstone course is essentially a lecture version of externship. It is not hosted by myself. I'm not the teacher for capstone, but it allows you to reflect on the skills and the knowledge that you have gained throughout your externship experience and the medical assisting program. There are projects that you will create based on the transferable skills, things like communication, diversity, teamwork, critical thinking, digital fluency, information literacy, ethics, and professional responsibilities. So that is an 11-week course in which you will be creating projects, doing CMA prep work, and there will be some weeks with discussion boards. You'll have a mid-quarter exam in there as well as a final exam. And the final exam is a practice test for the CMA. You'll need to pass that with a 73% or higher. So here are the course requirements for capstone. Again, you'll have discussion boards, written assignments, and exam preparations, just like what we just talked about. And then the final exam is a comp predictor, and you'll have to pass that within 2 attempts. In order to pass the medical assisting capstone course, again, you know this, you have to pass with a 73% or higher. You have to pass the final exam with a 73% or higher, and you have to turn in all coursework. Nothing too different there. What is the responsibilities of your externship site? So they have reviewed all the information with myself and Rasmussen University. They're going to prepare you for what it's like to be a medical assistant. They're going to give you hours. They're going to work with you. They're going to have you rooming patients, doing procedures, assisting with procedures, all of those fun things. At the end of each week, they'll sign your timesheets, verifying the hours you have documented are the correct hours. And again, this can be anybody that you have worked with in that week. They will be filling out the Appendix B, so that evaluation form for your clinical and administrative skills. And they will be completing that with me as well as a mid-quarter evaluation form. What can you expect from me as your program coordinator? So I'm not as hands-on in this course because you guys are out in externship and I don't see you on a weekly basis. But I will be in contact with your clinical site. I'll be kind of touching in with them. I'm still available for you guys anytime you have questions, comments, or concerns. I will be grading in your externship course. If there are issues or problems that arise, my job is to help step in and facilitate how we handle them. I'm also going to be the one that's grading all of the things in your externship course, as well as providing a final grade for your externship experience. I will utilize the feedback I receive from your externship site coordinator to evaluate and improve on your externship course. I will make sure that you're following HIPAA and confidentiality guidelines and be available to answer any questions that you or your site might have as we continue through this. All right. So here are some of the appendices that you're going to have to deal with. I will have the ones that you need to physically sign for you guys in that white folder, and I'll have those ready for you tomorrow at class. So tomorrow, which is Wednesday, November 15th. So at this time, the first appendix I'm going to talk about is Appendix A. So I'm going to go ahead and downsize this for a minute and take you into the course and show you. So this is obviously current course, but it works just the same. So this is your externship class. You'll see it is MEA 2895, and I'm just going to switch over so you can see what it looks like for you as an actual student. So the first thing that you'll need to do is go into Module 1, and you're going to go to this Module 1 live timesheet. Okay, you're going to open this up, and what I would suggest doing is downloading this form. It is a Microsoft Excel sheet. Save it on your desktop so that way you can always have it ready to go. First thing that we're going to do is change some of the things at the top. So first of all, you're going to be in the quarter winter 2024. The start date will be 1/2 of 2024. You're going to fill out this information here. So your name, the site's address, your mentor's name. I don't need a phone number, but I do need an email and the day that you started externship. We're also going to change this because I am not Nicole Roberts and this is not the Wausau campus. Okay. Now, one of the things that I always suggest to students to do is make your life easy. So work harder, not smarter, not harder. One of the things that's really fun about Excel is that you can easily make this work for you. So the first day of the week is obviously January 1st, but you will not be at externship site that day, but still put that date in. And then if you see down here in the corner, you get a little plus sign, hold and drag, it'll fill in the dates for you. So if you're like me and you like to work smarter, not harder, look at how quickly this is going where I can fill in all of the dates for the quarter. And again, I will fill this out all the way to the end. And the reason I do that is because I'm going to make it so that way each week I don't have to try to fill in the dates. It's already done for me. I'm in week 6 right now. Week 7. Oops. Almost there, guys. All right. Now, because week 11 stops on Friday, I'm going to drag this down to Friday and stop. So now you can see all of the dates are filled in from January 1st to March 15th. Okay. And let's say that week 1, you're going to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You're going to work 8 to 4:30 each day. So 8 a.m. So 8:00 space a.m. You have to put the space in there, otherwise it does not work. And let's say that you go to lunch at noon, so 12 p.m., and you get 30 minutes. And then you leave at 4:30. Okay, so you're going to fill all of that in, and look at that. The first day it tells you worked 8 hours. Beautiful. Now let's say that's going to be your schedule every single day. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you do the same schedule. And at the end of the week, you have 24 hours. You'll print this document off and have the clinical site manager, preceptor, whoever you're working with, physically sign it. They can sign it in the summary box. They can sign it over here. They can sign it down here. I don't care where they physically sign it, but they need to physically sign it. Then you'll take a picture of it and submit it to the Dropbox for grading. Save this on your desktop. Now let's say that the next week you're going to do the same thing. You're going to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 to 4:30 every day. So guess what? I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it here. And boom, you've got another 24 hours. But here's the fun thing. You notice now your total hours have gone to 48. The machine, the Excel sheet will do this for you. Now let's just, for fun here, if you kept that date, that kind of time frame up, let's see how long it would take you to finish your externship. Okay, so you would be done in week 8, right? So week 8, we're done with our externship. But you still see that you have 9, 10, and 11 that you have to turn in a timesheet. So you might be thinking, Corey, what do I do? Well, in that case, you're going to come over here, and in modules 9, 10, and 11, you're going to type completed externship on 2/22/24. Right? And then you can just turn in your electronic timesheet. You can turn in your electronic timesheet with that information, and it's going to work just fine. You'll still get the full points. But every week up till you're done needs to be turned in with a physical signed timesheet. Okay. If you want to turn in your timesheet that is signed and your electronic timesheet, that's awesome. Not required, just awesome. Okay. So that's your Appendix A, your digital timesheet. Appendix B, this is going to be completed by the Externship site. This is their way to evaluate your administrative and clinical skills. They're going to give me areas of strength and opportunity. This will be turned in to me at the end of your hours. Okay. Then Appendix C, this is your evaluation of the externship site. Again, you will do this in Module 11 of your externship course. It is a, it's not on this sheet, but it is a click to answer. So these first 7 questions here are all yes or no. Section 2 is you get to fill in your feedback here. And any additional comments that you want to give me, you're going to put there. That's the gist of externship orientation. Again, I will have all of the forms that you guys need to fill out for your clinical sites. So again, Ashley, that's Mercy for you, Swedish American for you, Amanda. I will have those for you tomorrow. I will give you a week to fill them out, and then you can bring them back to me so we can get all of that information that your clinical sites need together and sent to them in plenty of time before the holidays, as well as plenty of time before you start your externships in January. All right, guys, that's all I have. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask me. Otherwise, I'll see you on Wednesday, November 15th, and I'll have those white folders for you for externship. Bye, guys.